It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We take your emails as well and read some of them on the air at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Well, today, if you live in the San Fernando Valley, it is real hot. In fact, if you live in most parts of Southern California, it is real hot. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's because I spent part of the summer up in the Bay Area, but I feel like I have no tolerance for the heat anymore, although I don't think it's just me. I think not only has this summer been really hot, but it's been a lot more humid than it's supposed to be in Southern California. So, days like today are days where the air conditioning is blasting all day long. It'll probably be blasting until 10 o'clock at night. And unfortunately, for a lot of Southern California residents, that means electric bills that are going through the roof. If your electric bill is getting out of control, I want to hear from you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, especially SoCal Edison customers. SoCal Edison serves the majority of Southern California outside of some of the municipalities, like I live in the city of LA, so I have LADWP. But SoCal Edison has this thing that they've been touting for years and years and years that's supposed to save you money and save the planet, called time of use rates. And on a day like today, time of use rates can put you in the poorhouse. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Tell me about your outrageous electric bills. But first, let's get a report from KTLA on just how bad it's getting.
Electric bills are skyrocketing amid our triple-digit heat. Some residents say the cost of cooling off and keeping the lights on is just too expensive. Many residents say their bills have doubled, even tripled, and they're struggling to make ends meet.
Like you expect somewhat of a bump in the summertime. You know, you don't use a lot of gas in the summer, but you use a lot of electricity. But it is getting real expensive to keep that AC a-blowing.
Sandra Mitchell is live in Hollywood with more on the high cost of cooling off and what you can do to lower your bill. Sandra.
Yeah, Mike and Cher, so many people shocked by their most recent electric bill. In fact, we talked to one customer who says her bill went up more than $500 in just 1 month.
Yeah, that's not fair. That is a gouge. And that is part of the problem when you have energy monopolies that are supposed to be regulated by the CPUC that kind of get to do whatever they want.
It is extremely hard being a single mom and paying the bills.
Like many SoCal residents, IKEA Claiborne was shocked by her recent electric bill.
Wait, is her name IKEA?
Like many SoCal residents, IKEA Claiborne was shocked by her recent electric bill.
I wonder where her parents met.
Suffocating high temperatures in her Lancaster community means she's been cranking up the AC. And
oh gosh, I gotta check now, because I know it's hot here in the San Fernando Valley, but the Antelope Valley, oh boy, Lancaster, it's 102 today, and it's 102 with a lot of wind and a little humidity. Yeah, that's what AC is for.
And her July bill skyrocketed from about $200 to $700.
We have given up quite a lot in order to pay the bill. Extracurricular activities that we normally like to do, trips that we normally like to take.
If your bill went way up last month, it could be because you have a time of use rate plan. That means you're paying higher costs during the peak hours between 4 and 9 p.m. weekdays.
Okay, I do not understand the time of use rates thing. See, I have heard these commercials because they played relentlessly on the radio for a good 2 or 3 years of how you've got to switch to time of use rates so you will not use electricity during those demanding parts of the day, because if you do, we're going to charge you through the nose for it. Well, sure, you can try to change your way of thinking and change your schedule so you're not running the dishwasher at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You're not doing your laundry at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But the biggest user of power in your house is going to be your air conditioning Good luck not using that at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Holy cow.
If your bill went way up last month, it could be because you have a time of use rate plan. That means you're paying higher costs during the peak hours between 4 and 9 p.m. weekdays. And you might save money by switching to a tiered rate plan.
Gee, I wonder why SoCal Edison was advertising for years and years and years that people should switch to time of use rates instead of the regular tiered plan where you're charged on consumption. Because now you're not just charged on consumption, you're charged on, well, this is a busy time. Oh gosh, I just got a note from my buddy Oscar. It's 108 in Santa Clarita today. Yikes.
With a tiered rate plan, monthly bills are based on total energy consumption, not on the time of day when they're using the energy.
KTLA consumer reporter David Lazarus says
I mean, what do you do at that point? You shut the air off and you go live in your car because you can use the AC in your car all you want?
KTLA consumer reporter David Lazarus says SoCal Edison time of use rate plans are a way to motivate customers to conserve power.
Why shouldn't you be able to do your laundry whenever you want? Well, the problem is our grid just simply can't take the burden. And as the population grows, that means we need to try to find ways to incentivize people to help out.
But we're not incentivizing. We're punishing them. And this is the basis of things. It's really, really, really hot, but should you have to pay through the nose to make sure that you're not suffering through the heat? I mean, we have an actual officer of heat in the city of Los Angeles because it is a big deal to try to prevent heat-related illnesses, to try to prevent heat stroke, to try to prevent people from overheating in this ridiculously hot weather. So why, at the same time, are we making it so expensive to cool off? We're trying to get everyone an air conditioner, but how are you going to be able to afford to use the air conditioner?
An S&P Global report shows LA area energy rates are up 39% since 2021. Consumer Watch.
Yeah, that's not inflation. Inflation has contributed to a lot of things, but energy prices being 39% higher than they were 3 years ago, that's way more than inflation, in my humble opinion.
Consumer watchdog group Utility Reform Network blaming increasing cost on greedy utility companies.
Public Utilities Commission is not doing their job by saying no. You have to live within a budget.
And now many customers like Claiborne say keeping the lights and the air conditioning on means giving up other essentials.
What are we supposed to do? Choose between having electricity or celebrating a birthday? Choose between eating food? You know, it's like, so it's just.
What if you had to make that choice and you still decided to go with the birthday? That's going to be a real dark month.
Eating food, you know, it's like, so it's just so hard right now. Are we going to sit and eat in the dark because we can't pay the bill? Or, you know, so it's a lot that we've had to give up.
All right, if you are struggling to pay your summer electric bills, you can always get in touch with the electric company, and that means they might help you spread those higher bills out over several months. We're live in Hollywood.
Oh, how compassionate. Not making sure that you get a rate cut or that we don't charge you through the nose when obviously everyone's going to be using their AC. You know, not a lot of demand for AC at 7 a.m. because it's nice and cool. Well, at least it used to be. It's not even cold in the morning anymore. What's going on here? I pay Southern California prices for Southern California weather, and it's starting to feel like Texas out here. Don't like it. But this is the same thing that the gas company was doing. Remember when SoCal Gas last January jacked up rates to an insane amount where people were seeing double, triple, quadruple their regular gas bill? And they were like, well, there were fluctuations in the supply market, when what really happened is they decided to sell all of their natural gas storage that's supposed to be for California residents to Europe. And then they said, well, now we need to spend more money. So they were making money left and right, charging people through the nose. And instead of forgiving all these insane bills, they said, well, you can pay it over time. Sure, you're used to paying $100 a month, but instead of that $500 bill, we're just going to charge you $200 a month till you pay it off. Sound good to me? That's what it sounds like SoCal Edison and the other power companies are doing here. And LADWP has its share of problems. They definitely do. I'm sure there are other municipal power areas that are pretty nice. Burbank was fine when I lived there. BWP, no problem. But boy, do I hear nothing but problems with customers of SoCal Edison in Southern California, San Diego Gas and Electric in Southern California, and of course, PG&E in Northern California. Private companies that have monopolies and could pretty much do whatever they want in the area where they're taken care of. There is nowhere else to go. If you don't like SoCal Edison's time of use rates, if you don't like being taken advantage of that way, there is no other electric company that you can contract with. It doesn't work that way. Here's what I want to know from you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Specifically, if you're a SoCal Edison customer, are you on one of these time of use rate plans? How is this working for you? Are your electric bills going through the roof this summer? I want to hear from you because we have to pay for a lot of things to deal with living in Southern California. But when it is 100 degrees out and you have people that are scared to turn on the AC, that is a big failure. That's something we got to do about immediately. So tell me how crazy your electric bills are getting at 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. You can email us as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. But tell me right now how bad it's getting with your electric bills. Have you noticed a massive increase? 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Hey, we usually do this so late in the show. Why don't we do it early? A little prize from me to you, from us, the KABC radio station, to you, the KABC listeners, as a thank you for being a part of this station. Whether it's calling in, emailing, or just listening or tell your friends. Here we go. 790 KABC welcomes Bonnie Raitt to the Pacific Amphitheater on September 14th. Tickets are on sale now, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by the Pacific Amphitheater. Good luck dialing. As I was scrolling through social media during the break, I found out that today is National Radio Day. I always forget what day of the year it is, but I notice it because a lot of my social media friends happen to work in radio, and that's when you see people posting these collages of pictures they've collected over the decades they've worked in the industry. And I just posted one on my social media at Randy Wang Radio on Instagram or Twitter. And it is crazy to think about that I have been doing this for, it'll be 18 years in September. I don't know how that's possible. I feel like it was just yesterday when I was this little producer intern at KLSX 97.1, the FM talk station. But I have been very lucky over the years. I have gotten to work with some of the best people in the business who all have definitely left their mark on me in some way and helped evolve what I do, what I say, what I care about, the things that I think about. And I've been real lucky. I started at 97.1 KLSX, the FM talk station, in 2006. I got a job in the web department. This is a true story. I was a big fan. I was working for my dad. I was bored out of my mind because I was not born to be a printer. I was not good at printing. You know what I liked about my job? That I had a lot of free time by myself to listen to the radio. And so I loved listening to KLSX, whether it was Howard Stern, Frosty, Heidi, and Frank, the Tom Leykis show. But boy, at nighttime with Conway and Steckler and then eventually Conway and Whitman, I became such a huge fan of that show that I, with my free time, and this will date me, I made a MySpace page for how much I liked that show. And that MySpace page got the attention of their producer, Jerry Wachowski, and they reached out to me on MySpace and said, hey, this is so cool you're doing this. Can you come to the radio station and be on the air so we can make fun of you for having no life? And I said, yes, sir. So I did it. I got to meet all these radio icons, watch them do the show, and I just happened to ask, hey, is there any way I can get a job here? The next day, I had an interview with Ron Escarzigo, who actually has hired me at 2 different radio stations. And I was in the web department posting podcasts and quickly got mastery of that, had a lot of free time on my hands. And Conway found me in the hall and said, hey, how about I start having you do some bits, or why don't you take those podcasts and make montages out of it? So I learned a whole bunch there. Eventually got hired full-time to do the dump button for the syndicated Adam Carolla show, which was the easiest job ever because hardly anybody ever cursed. It's not like the callers to this radio station. Most of the guests there were very clean. So I did that, and then at night would still come in for free because I loved watching Conway and Whitman work. I loved learning how to do comedy radio, and, well, I did that for 3 years until the radio station blew up. And they decided to flip that station to all music. And what do you know? Years later, they flipped it to an FM signal for KNX, which is a waste of a signal if you ask me in my humble opinion. But after that, I ended up working at KFI, our competitor down the radio dial, for a couple of years with Conway. I worked with Bill Carroll, worked with Bill Handel. I loved that job. I loved, getting in the world, like bringing in news feeds, working with some great reporters over there. But I was still a board op. I was still treated like a board op, which means I got paid like a board op. So eventually I quit, which at the time was probably the dumbest decision I had ever made. And I'm going to go try to find a real job. Ended up working for my buddy Oscar for a year at a company called Lone Mart. And I was so bored out of my mind. Now, I was still doing podcasts with my old partner, Gina Grad, so I still felt a little connection to the radio world, but I was missing being inside a radio station. Well, less than a year after I left KFI, one of the most important people in my life, Dean J. D'Amelio, Dino. He was the screen of the Tom Leykis show. He worked at KABC for many, many, many years, producing a whole bunch of shows. He reached out to me and said, hey, we got to get you over at KABC. There's a job opening in the production department. This was the summer of 2013. And I said, sure, even if it's just part-time. I miss being in that environment. And, well, got hired immediately. And just a few months into putting together promos for McIntyre or Larry Elder or Peter Tilden, there was an opening for McIntyre's morning show to run the board and to do bits and to talk on the air. And so I had to learn how to become a morning person. And boy, oh boy, was that a tough transition. In fact, switching to morning radio was what got me to gain 80 pounds back that I had lost just a couple of years before. But learning from Doug McIntyre, working with Terry Ray Elmer, just an incredible experience. Did that for many years until McIntyre decided to hang it up. Worked with Leanne Tweeden as well. And then John Phillips and Jillian Barberie moved it in the morning show. We did that for a year, and then the economy kind of soured and COVID happened, and all of a sudden I found myself to be the only person who was coming in every single day with a few other people at the radio station, everyone else working remotely, and John got exiled to the Coachella Valley. We've been doing the John Phillips show, that version, for over 4 years now, and it has been a blast. And here we go, starting in January of this year, got my own show, The News Blitz with Randy Wang. And it has been an incredible ride. I have learned so much from all of these amazing people. I've had so much fun doing it. And I'm so lucky to continue to do it because I'm only 39. So I got like 30 more years of this. Let's go. But happy National Radio Day. I'm so happy to be part of it. Even outside of working in radio, I've always been a fan of listening to the radio. So I'm such a big fan of the medium, of its way to connect with listeners. There's nothing like live local radio and taking phone calls, and I love being a part of it. So happy National Radio Day. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, though apparently not today because I think the phone system is down. But you can still email me about anything and everything at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. It is award season. The Emmys are coming up in a few weeks, and I've got a brand new award to present on this show, Mother of the Year. And who's that going to? The woman who dragged her child to panhandle about a fake funeral. For more, here's KTLA.
A scam aimed at pulling at your heartstrings. 3 people are accused of making the public believe they were donating money to help bury children who had died. Only one problem. It was all a lie. Good afternoon. This is the KTLA 5 News at 5:30. I'm Cher Calvin.
And I'm Micah Ullman. Victorville police say the scammers duped the public and never intended on giving any money toward a funeral.
KTLA's Shelby Nelson is live in Victorville with more. Shelby.
Sure, Micah, so many of us have been approached by people asking for money, but this is a perfect example of why a lot of people don't feel comfortable doing it because they don't know whether it's legitimate or not.
Yeah, I'm also deathly afraid of strangers to begin with. So anybody holding up a sign on the 405 off-ramp at Burbank or the on-ramp at Robertson at the 10 freeway, I'm a little weirded out by it. I'm not even going to try to read the sign. But when you see some of these, it looks awfully suspicious because there are so many other ways to, get help from the public and fundraise. Like, let's say, for instance, you are trying to collect for a funeral. There's definitely community. There are churches. There are ways to help that go through. There's GoFundMes. But when you take it to the streets, I get a little scared.
We've all seen them. Most of us asked at least once to give money. And while some might actually be down on their luck needing the help, there are others who use the panhandling method to make a living, even if it means lying. Take, for instance, what happened in Victorville on Friday at this intersection.
How much money can you make fake panhandling about a fake funeral? Well, I guess if you're really sympathetic, if you put on the waterworks, and we got a lot of outerwork actors in Los Angeles, maybe you get $100 a day. Although you get $100 a day being an extra, pretending to drink water in the background of a show.
A sergeant with the city's police department approached a mom and son duo holding makeshift collection canisters and these posters claiming that 8-year-old Mario and 7-year-old Anna died in a car accident, both asking the public for money for their funerals.
Okay, there's fake panhandling and there's doing things that will definitely send you to HE double hockey sticks. Making up that you have a dead child that you have to pay for a funeral for and having your living child hold up the sign. There isn't enough therapy in the world to cure that kid.
Through their investigation, they determined that the allegations of these children dying in a traffic collision were false. At this point, I don't even know if those were actually real children or if they were...
This is worse than Balloon Boy.
Real children or if they were completely made up.
Yeah, that reference is probably a little outdated. But everyone remembers Balloon Boy, right? The story where there was a 7-year-old who was trapped in the balloon that was out of control, and it turns out he was hiding in the attic, and the dad was just trying to play up for sympathy.
Real children or if they were...
That guy was on... it wasn't Trading Spouses. It was the other one, Wife Swap. Oh, wow, is that guy weird.
Real children or if they were completely made up.
Mara Rodriguez with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department says the 45-year-old woman, her 19-year-old son, and a 17-year-old traveled to the high desert all the way from Pico Rivera. The adults were cited after allegedly carrying out the scam at U.S. Route 395 and Palmdale Road, where many residents say this happens all too often.
They usually have a bucket and they walk between the lanes. And they'll have a sign that says...
I really don't like that. It's one thing to stand on the street corner, but when you start walking in the middle of traffic, I just get a little uneasy. And yeah, I'm one of those people. I'll admit it. You walk too close to my car, even though I know the door is locked, I'm going to lock it again. No, thank you.
They usually have a bucket and they walk between the lanes and they'll have a sign that says so-and-so died, age whatever. And, that jars you. A kid died. They can't bury him. You want to help them.
Under California law.
That's about as low as you can go. There are so many ways to scam people. There are so many ways to trick and deceive and to bamboozle. But lying about a fake dead kid? That is horrible.
Under California law, panhandling could be a protected form of free speech, but there are...
No. That's straight up fraud.
Under California law, panhandling could be a protected form of free speech, but there are certain stipulations that classify it as a misdemeanor. In a case involving what happened in Victorville...
Not only would this be considered potentially aggressive conduct, which would fall under the panhandling statute, but also theft by false pretenses.
I love it. Let's throw the book at her. And you know what? Got to take the kid away. That kid needs a fresh start. That kid's got to go with grandma if grandma's around, or an aunt or an uncle if they're around. This mom cannot be a parent if this is what she's making her kid do.
There's people out there that do need.
She's not even homeless. She's just scamming people.
There's people out there that do need the help, and we can't tell who they are anymore.
For Mom Yesenia Pleiades, she helps when she can.
There's times where I go through difficult situations, so I try not to think negatively because I don't know their situation.
Others would like to, but are skeptical. They don't.
Yeah, it is tough. Not everybody who's holding up a sign at an off-ramp is a bad person or trying to scam you. In fact, I have a story that always sticks in my head of somebody who was kind of a hero to me. I was on fumes, getting off the freeway at White Oak from the 101. You know where that Trader Joe's is? Well, there's a gas station right there, and I thought I had just enough fuel to get in there. Boy, I don't miss having a gas-powered car. And I ended up stopped, car dead, right at the off-ramp at the light, which means I had to turn my flashers on, and the whole off-ramp backed up, and people were honking at me, and people were mad, and I didn't know what to do. I called AAA. AAA wasn't going to be there for 20 minutes. Well, there was a couple of things that happened. One, somebody behind me who had a pickup truck was like, hey, I'm just going to slowly use my truck to push yours and we'll get it there. And then the guy that was holding the sign on the street corner asking for money, he went up and said, let me help you. I'll help push the car. And he did. And we got it around the corner and into that gas station. I thanked the man with the truck. And before the homeless man who was pushing the car walked away, I handed him everything I had in my wallet, which was about $25. And I said, thank you so much. But for the most part, I'm a little weirded out with the people with signs, especially fake funeral scamming mama.
They don't always know where their money is going.
Do you ever donate yourself?
Not anymore.
Now, the consequences could vary based on a person's past record, how much that person was able to gather when they were trying to collect all that money. In some cases, they could even face county jail time. Now, if you are approached by people and you're not sure, if you don't feel comfortable, law enforcement says that the best thing to do is either ask them questions, try to get a feel for it yourself with your safety in mind, obviously, or if you want to go the extra mile, you can always just donate to a local nonprofit or a homeless shelter. That's the very latest in Victorville. I'm Shelby Nelson, KTLA 5 News.
There you go. It's the story of the fake panhandling mom in Victorville who lied about a fake funeral and made her child hold the sign. I don't think we're going to beat it. That's Mother of the Year. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. If you'd like to send us an email, you can do so at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. And Matt writes in about SCE's solar power scam. Hey, Randy, switching to solar is the reason for the ridiculously high rates, and SoCal Edison's biggest scam is they only give you 40% credit for the power your solar panels make during the day when nobody is home and the sun is out. That's not how it used to be. But SoCal Edison and PG&E lobbied the CPUC to change the way we incentivize solar, where we're supposed to be trying to save the planet and incentivize people getting to that clean, green energy. No. The crooked power companies known as SoCal Edison, PG&E, and San Diego Gas and Electric weren't getting their cut. Matt writes in and goes on to say, then at night when you're home using your electric, maybe charging the AV, they want you to buy that at full rates for the electric being used. When solar first came out, they gave you 100% credit for all the solar energy you put back on the grid. The 40% credit is killing the solar industry on existing homes who were going to make the investment for only 40% credit unless you're rich or stupid and can afford a Tesla battery wall for another $15K. Also, all new homes and condos that are built are required to install solar panels, which adds another $20K to the cost. For only 40% credit, you can buy a lot of electricity for $20K. Please share this info. Most people are not aware of this scam. Matt, thank you so much for writing in. And yeah, we need to talk way more about this because this is something that the electric industry advocated hard for and Gavin Newsom folded on, and it made no sense. They're like, we're losing money. You have people that are literally able to sell you back more of the energy, taking more people off the grid, taxing the system even less. That's what we all wanted, right? Well, no. SoCal Edison needed to get their cut. PG&E needed to get their cut. And that's who really controls the power in the state of California. I apologize. That pun was terrible. Hey, it's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. If you've ever missed an episode of this show, and we do them every single day from 5 to 6, I would love it if you could subscribe to the podcast, because I would love to brag that my numbers are just as big as the John Phillips Show, which is noon to 3 every day here on KABC. So if you got Apple Podcasts, you can follow us on there. You can go to kabc.com/newsblitz. If there is a podcast app that you use that for some reason you don't see the News Blitz on, let me know so I'll forward that to management and we'll get it on there. And not only can you download all of our Monday through Thursday shows where we talk about local issues, the stuff that really matters, you get those Friday shows, which have just been, of everything of doing this show and what we originally envisioned this show to be, the Friday shows was something that I've wanted to do since 2005, 2006. I mean, I've heard a lot of food shows. I've heard a lot of local shows talking about food and restaurants and drinks, but boy, do I have a good time. And usually I come up with the topic, but you are totally welcome to suggest your own topic for the Big Friday Happy Hour shows. If you think there's a category of food, category of restaurant, drink, travel, whatever it is, suggest your topics and we'll use them eventually at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Steven wrote in a couple of weeks ago, and he actually has one that we're going to do on Friday because eating out has gotten very expensive. In fact, I have a story we're going to get to later in the week on the insane pricing for fast food combos and how it makes absolutely no sense at Jack in the Box. Steve wants us to do a cheap eats hour where we could talk about restaurants where you can still get a good deal, maybe some cheap make-ahead meals that you make at home. If you're balling on a budget, we're going to find ways to do it and still enjoy yourself and still have a good time. But other than that, any topic that you think would be fun to do on our Friday Blitz shows, I would love to hear your suggestions at randykabc@gmail.com. I try to email everybody back that I get them. And sometimes we get the coolest emails from people who discovered us through friends or family, or we're getting a lot of people that discover the show because we now air a portion of the John Phillips Show on our sister station in San Francisco on KSFO. And we're getting a lot of people that discovers. In fact, a guy named Bryce wrote in who emailed me a long story how he used to listen to KGO, but up in Vancouver, BC. And eventually he started listening to KSFO, discovered us because we are on there 11 o'clock at night, but also sometimes at 6 o'clock, and then realized, that we're also on noon to 3 at KABC, and then also realized that I'm doing my own show from 5 to 6. So now this guy who lives in Vancouver, BC, who's a big fan of KSFO, is taking hours out of his day to download the podcast of the John Phillips Show and the News Blitz. I love hearing stories like that. I love hearing anything about it. Tell me how you discovered us, how you discovered the show, discovered the station. Are you one of these people that's been listening for 40, 50 years and you were here during the Michael Jackson days? Not that Michael Jackson. Or, did someone tell you to get into KABC and hear what they're doing here? Because we love interacting with our audience. That's what makes this station special. That's what makes this show special. And we're so happy to be able to do it every single day. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast and the News Blitz. Share it with your friends. KABC.com/newsblitz. And you can do an Apple Podcast and search for the KABC News Blitz. Search for Randy Wang. You'll see some other things that I've done on there. Luckily, my old podcast, The Pretty Good Podcast, isn't online anymore because while I'm very proud of doing 1,100 shows, I said some real embarrassing things that I am glad are not on the air anymore. But all the episodes of the News Blitz are, and in fact, on Apple Podcasts, you can even go through the transcripts, which is really helpful for one of our Happy Hour Friday shows. But thank you all so much for listening, being a part of the show. We will be here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most. I'll see you tomorrow at 5 for another episode of the News Blitz with Randy Wang right here on the legendary, the mighty, the Heritage Talk Radio 790 KABC. Happy National Radio Day, everybody. Thank you so much for keeping this medium alive because they said about 50 years ago it was going to be dead. See you tomorrow.